Welcome to the Stream TV's Arrow After Show. Welcome and thanks for joining us. I am Kaori Takee and we are going to be talking all things Arrow and tonight's episode. I have two lovely people with me. I've got to my left.
Hey everybody, it's John Campea, ready to hood up and talk about this week's episode.
And to my right.
Hi everybody, I'm Grant. I'm glad to join you. Talk about this episode.
You can use hood up too, you can.
Yeah.
Hood up?
Yeah.
Hood up.
Hood up, exactly. So we are going to obviously be talking about our positives and then our negatives. But throughout the show, feel free to tweet us throughout at #ArrowAfterShow, where Anne will be taking your questions and comments because we love to interact with you guys. So before we get into it, our overall thoughts of this particular episode.
Definitely better than last week. I have chosen to forget and cleanse myself of last week's episode, to be honest with you, but definitely better. I obviously have a balanced list of positives and negatives, so I'm excited to go through that. What do you guys think?
I liked it. You know, I'm thinking it's getting better and better. The last season and heading into this one, I don't know what's going to happen because last season it was a lot easier to see what was going on, but this season, I think it's better.
Yeah, and I would say that I like this episode a lot better than last week's. Except for the ending, but we'll get to that. All right, so let's go through our positives, starting with Anne.
Sweet. Okay, so I have two major positives for this episode, and then little things here and there, but definitely getting Malcolm's backstory. I know it took us 3 seasons to get something more in terms of seeing what has led up to Merlyn being who he is today, but I'm so happy that we got it in this episode. It definitely was interesting to see little Tommy and little Oliver and even little Nyssa. Like, that was really cute. But again, we know who Merlyn is, right? We understand his motivation, but we really got to feel and be a part of that. The kind of the seeing that, he said, "I died when my wife died." That was a really strong line for me. And so I just like that they were able to go back and really give us the emotional, connection to Merlyn. Yeah. For me, he's that bad guy that I cheer for. And I'm so conflicted because there's some episodes where I'm like, I really hate his guts. Yeah. And then there's other episodes where I'm like, oh my gosh, how can I not like the guy? And so he's that type of character for me, so complex. And I just love that we got the backstory. Obviously, the second reason, Oliver is back.
Yay!
I think all of us have been yearning for him to come back. It's been a long journey. He's alive. We were all dying to see how the characters would react to Oliver being back, but I'm just happy that he is back in Star City with the rest of the characters. And now we can really put a fight against Brick and all the gang, even though they are in jail, as far as we know. So that really kind of leaves it open for who is that big bad. Is Brick going to get out of jail? Is there somebody else coming? Is it now Ra's al Ghul? Is that going to be the focus for the last few episodes? Is it just the League coming in? But I'm just so glad he's back. Yeah. And so, those were the two definite positives. I do like that Thea was kind of convinced Roy, without knowing it, of Merlyn being a semi-good guy, and revealing that he did, Merlyn was the one that saved her and was the only one there for her. So I like that. I also like that Ted Grant was back in the episode, only to tell Laurel, like, hey, why the heck are you fighting right now? He did call her out. And for somebody that's been training with Laurel, I thought I like that because, it kind of keeps both characters grounded. It's like, hey, I've been training with you and I don't even think you're ready to be out there fighting. What the heck are you doing? So it's nice to see that. And while some people might not have liked the ending, I'm a bit conflicted. I'm going to put it in my positives for now just because it's consistent with Felicity's character.
Okay.
And so while some people might have thought that was really whiny of her and like, why does she keep going on about why Oliver should not be, teaming up with Malcolm, I think for Felicity, it's hard. One, he has just come back. So obviously she's emotional. She thought he was dead. And two, it's Felicity. She has always been that voice of reason for Oliver. And so if she's always believed that Malcolm is not good for him, then of course she's going to put up a fight and try to convince him that he shouldn't be teaming up with him. So those are my positives.
Okay, well, Felicity, I'll go next. Felicity for me is in my negative, so I will talk about that in a little bit. I completely agree with you with Malcolm Merlyn. Whether you love him or you hate him, it's always great to see him in all the scenes. He's always just takes the power, and it was nice to see him in a vulnerable state and see him being kind of weak sauce, getting beaten up, kind of seeing his motivation, seeing baby Tommy. I really like that. I love his interactions with Thea. I think they're growing more and more solid, and their relationship is forming really well. And he's actually very honest with her compared to other characters where he's not. So
I always think it's like fake. I don't know. I'm waiting for him to like turn.
I feel like there's something very genuine about Malcolm Merlyn and his conversations with Thea, because he does want to do something right for her because it's the only blood he has left. So I really like that. Of course, like you mentioned, Oliver returning. Thank goodness that he has made his comeback right in the nick of time. So I'm glad, because I think that the episodes are going to start picking up its pace again, because now it's got its hero in there. I gotta say, me being a Arsenal lover and Roy Harper, in this episode I kind of felt like, obviously with the influence of Thea, he was the voice of reason where Felicity usually is. He kind of took that place. And I really liked his role in there, and I really was happy with that. Sin, it was good to see her, but she's kind of in my negatives as well. But yeah. Grant.
I actually have a lot of positives, but at the same time, different than the ones that you guys liked. I actually liked seeing Laurel getting to fight a little bit more, because the last couple episodes, she's been kind of weak sauce. I'll use a word that you've used. She's been falling all over the place. She's been tripping out of, like the fire escapes onto cars and stuff. She's been like, Harper's had to save her a couple of times. But this time she didn't really need saving by anybody. She's kind of beating up people on her own, and that is the character. So getting to see that character a little bit better, more the way she's supposed to be, that was my positive.
Okay.
And then, the backstory of Roz as well. I'll still refer to him as Roz. Roz will go for me.
That's a good point. The whole backstory with Oliver back in Ra's al Ghul Land and all that stuff, that was positive too.
Yeah, and I like seeing more about him anyway, because I think he's a central character for a lot of these, DC superheroes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Driving force, like a negative and a positive at the same time for some of them. Other than that, I like seeing Sin again. She's like one of my favorite characters in the series, and I always hope that she'd get more. So I know this is just a taste to see, give her opinion on seeing the team back together. But and then I think it's ramping up towards something that I can't see. So I'm hoping to see what the next 5 episodes bring.
Okay. What about your negatives then?
We're going right into my negatives?
Yeah, why not? Let's do this.
My negatives are, I don't really like the villain at this point.
Brick?
Brick is not
like
as flashy a villain as Merlyn.
No,
any of the Suicide Squad members, even the people that are Oliver's fighting inside his flashbacks in Hong Kong or even on the island, Brick is not as dynamic a villain as the others. So that's like one of my only negatives. And then there's a couple cheesy lines in there.
Okay.
But I think that's that's something to like about it in certain ways as well.
Anne, what about yours?
Why is Diggle not fighting?
Yeah.
I still don't get it.
He's like the baddest character.
Why is he still behind with Felicity, whereas Felicity can be there, she can manage on her own, she's done it before, but still Diggle continues to be in the cave with her. And Laurel and Roy are out fighting. I don't get it.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't get it. So still a negative for me. Somebody convinced me as to why he's not out there. So teaming up with Merlyn, okay, cool, I get that. We've been waiting for that to happen, right? We've been waiting for the team up. We knew that there was a motivation there, that they were going to be going after the same person. But did Merlyn even need Team Arrow when he asked for their help? Because that would have been Diggle, that would have been Felicity, and that would have been Roy and Laurel. I mean, as badass as Merlyn is, I truly believe that if he put his heart and soul into going after somebody, that he could.
He could go up. He could go toe to toe with Oliver, like you would think that he could go toe to toe with Brick pretty easily.
Exactly, exactly. I totally agree. And so if he was saying, hey, I need your guys' help because I'm going after the League, or I'm going after Ra's al Ghul, sure, I totally get that. You probably need a whole army to do that.
Sure.
But Brick, I agree with you. While I love Vinnie Jones as Brick, I have never really bought into him as the main bad guy for this season. And so he's in jail, so I think we're okay. I have Sin is back in my negatives.
Okay.
I love Sin. I like seeing her back. All of us have been wondering where she is, but it seemed like such an abrupt way to introduce her, reintroduce her into the show.
Nowhere.
Right,
totally,
right. Whereas she was kind of a relevant part of season 2. All of a sudden, it's like, let's just throw her into this episode so that we can further rub in everybody's face that Detective Lance still doesn't know who Sarah is. Who Laurel is, Canary.
Yeah. That's quite my negative too. Is, dude, you're a detective and you still don't know who's who and where's what and what the heck is who and all that crap.
The best part is going to be when we have that episode and Detective Lance is like, you guys are stupid. I knew this whole time. I was just playing with you. You know, I really hope, I would love that actually, if he just came out and said, you know what, I'm not dumb. I knew it was Oliver the whole time.
Yeah, I would love to.
And I knew, not that it was Oliver, but I knew that it was not Sarah the whole time or whatever. You know, like
Then he's been handling it really well.
He's got to put it together, you know? He's got to put the pieces together and know. And after, obviously, tonight's episode with Sin telling him, like, that's not Sarah.
He's going to have a breakdown. He's going to have a breakdown because, like, he could barely handle Sarah as, you know, like, the vigilante or the person who is in danger. He was, like, very close to weeping half the time.
Yeah.
So, like, when he finds out that it's actually Laurel, that's going to be, like, pretty hard for him to handle.
And I think that's kind of the point, is to have him be the last one to find out. And we saw him taking some medicine in this episode, so it's going to lead to something very big. But also, I mean, yeah, okay, Roy, hey, Harper, I know it's you. Come on. It's like, oh, please, man.
How do you know who everybody else is on the squad?
Except for
Oliver.
Sarah and Oliver.
Yeah.
I mean, Laurel and Oliver.
I still think they're going to keep Oliver, like, hidden to the point where it's going to be a little bit of a joke at this. I mean, if it isn't already a joke, it's going to be even more of a joke that nobody but, you know, like the core people know that it's him.
Any other negatives?
Battle scene was a little cheesy for me.
Good.
I think both of us kind of looked at each other when that happened and we were just like, really? I
Yeah.
don't know. Like, the fact that Oliver came in kind of saved that whole scene for me, but, like, it was just, I just didn't buy into the fact that they got the people of the Glades to fight against Brick's people.
And nobody died, right? There were a lot of guns. Nobody died. I didn't see anybody die.
Nobody died, but Ted Grant, poor sacrificial lamb.
Oh, yeah, he got beat
You know,
up.
Laurel talked him into coming and helping fight them, and then he got his ass kicked by a
I thought for a
Brick.
second he was going to actually do something really good.
Yeah.
And, like, he was going to, like, put 1-2 to Brick, but, like, and it took me for a second to even figure out that it was him underneath the mask, but, like, you know, like
That was kind of negative
jacket
for
and everything.
me.
Right.
Because, I mean, he was teaching Laurel, and suddenly Laurel can take these guys down, but this guy can't. I wasn't too sure about that.
Yeah, one episode, she goes from being, you know, like, a clumsy person to, you know, like a badass that's able to kick Brick's butt or anybody else's butt for that matter, and then he's not able to do it. Maybe it was the mask. I don't know. He was wearing a baklava the entire time.
Oh, come on. He was that good, it wouldn't matter.
Lucha Libre mask.
So one of my biggest negatives in this one, I do like that Oliver and Merlyn are teaming up. I think that's the best way to go because they have a love-hate relationship / dependency on each other. But my biggest negative, I would probably say, is sorry, guys, Felicity. I miss the strong Felicity that we've all grown to love, and I miss her sharp puns, her great lines, and throughout the whole entire season, she always has something great and funny to say. She has nothing like that anymore. She's quite emo, and I get it. You know, she's going through a lot right now, but I just want her to kind of be that strong woman that I fell in love with. And she's not that person right now. She should, maybe, I guess when she becomes less emotional again, maybe she'll be able to back up Oliver. But it might mean that she's kind of going to get behind the Atom over Oliver. Maybe that's what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But that was really my only negative, which is kind of a big negative, I guess.
Yeah.
I miss Felicity being Felicity.
I'm sure she'll get there, but like you said, she's going through a lot too.
Yeah.
And like you said too, a lot of people suspect that maybe this is their setup to transition her off of Oliver into that role with Ray.
And she was also kind of, I mean, this is kind of a girl comment, but she was being kind of grandma today, like in her little outfit and sitting down while everyone's standing up.
Oh, but I have to say, I'm glad you brought that up because there were a few nods, and I'm sure everyone noticed this too. Maybe I was reading too much into that scene where Felicity is sitting down and everyone's standing up, but I was like, oh, maybe this is a nod to her being Oracle because she's the only one sitting, and she kind of looked, and you even pointed it out, you're like, why does she look like she's in a wheelchair?
Yeah.
Yeah, she looked like she was strapped in at the very least. But beyond that, or either that or like Merlyn had caught them by surprise by entering the nightclub unannounced.
Well, he kind of knows what's going on everywhere now.
He knows
as we
everything.
found out in this episode, he has cameras in their cave. So.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it, but this guy knows everything where Officer Lance does not. Maybe they might want to think about that.
Did anyone catch the nod to Flash at the beginning? Where he called them the Red Streak, and he's like, "Oh, you got the wrong city."
Oh
Yeah, yeah.
no,
So that was pretty cool too.
Oh.
And
Yeah, it
then
was
they
Harper.
mentioned Bloodhaven was mentioned
Yes.
again, as always. And then obviously Merlyn gets his name, the Magician, which is really cool because that's from the
so
comics
cool.
as well. And so the fact that he's doing the tricks the whole show and finally gets the name from Nyssa is cool.
Yeah, I really like that. And I also like seeing the baby Nyssa. And
Yeah.
wasn't that the Lazarus pit that they were alluding to behind them?
It could have been a glimpse, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think the shot we saw has Maceo in the shot.
Okay.
So maybe they're going to show it a little bit more later.
In the hut, was that what it was?
No,
or
no,
outside
no.
of that area where he was healing?
Where Nyssa, baby Nyssa or little Nyssa was fighting.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
There was like a nice little spa that we should jump into one day.
Yeah.
I don't like the kids though. It's always risky seeing the kids in there. Like the younger versions of all those characters. John Barrowman can just like let his hair grow out, or he can like let it unfurrow.
Yeah.
But seeing the kids is always a risky thing in my opinion.
Oh,
But
you
I guess
worried
like
about them?
young Tommy and young Oliver, they did a good job. Embodying the younger versions of those characters. They really were like like a little bit of bigger brother, younger brother type thing.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
though brother from
that's
another mother.
It makes me miss Tommy a lot. I really hope that
I didn't
somehow
like him.
he took a bath in a Lazarus pit or something. And Merlin's gonna be like, my son has returned. I don't know.
I'd be down for it.
Yeah, right? Okay, guys, so now we're gonna go on to the Twitter questions, but continue to send over the questions and comments, #ArrowAfterShow, and take it away.
All right, so we have a question from Stephen D. Giampa. Sorry about that. Do you think with the way Felicity reacted, is she going to leave Team Arrow and help Palmer out now instead?
I think I was kind of alluding to that. I have
Yeah.
a feeling, yeah. And especially since they teased the Adam suit, which was badass. You
Looks
saw it, right?
great.
What'd you think of it?
I think it looks amazing.
Did you see it?
I saw it.
It
looks like it's like a red and blue Iron Man.
Yeah, it was really sweet. So yeah, I think that she's gonna definitely have to get behind Ray for a little bit, which obviously is gonna cause conflict with Oliver. What do you guys think?
I completely agree. I think we touched on that. I think that's exactly why she was overreacting to some
She kind
people.
of gave him an ultimatum, though. Like at the end or at the midway point, she's talking to him and says, she provided him with the chip in order to make his suit work. But beyond that, she kind of, let off his advances. So it's going to be a big comeback if she is going to finally, side with him and, really be his, not sidekick, but his heroine.
Well, I don't think it's going to be 100% behind Ray. I think she's going to be teetering, and it's going to be that conflict of like a love triangle / a hero triangle or something similar like that.
Yeah. Okay, so Arrow_Jake asks, how did Oliver get his suit if Felicity was in the Arrow cave? Good point.
I don't know.
His back pocket?
She went to the bathroom.
Maybe he hides suits all over Star City so that if he ever has to leave and come back, he knows certain
That's
areas
a really
where he has
good
different
point.
suits.
Unless it was the other suit, because he got a new suit 2 or 3 episodes ago. So does he have 2 now? And one that he's
You have
been
stumped
keeping
us.
at home?
You have stumped us.
Arrow_Jake.
That is a really good point.
Why ask why? Felicity needed to use the bathroom.
Yes.
Yes.
And
But
then he
then-
stepped in.
He was
put it
waiting,
on.
like,
No, they were all weren't they all in the truck at that point?
He got back really fast, by the way. I mean, I don't know. Time thing confuses me though. But
They were all in the truck.
what, his outfit? No.
No, Felicity and
Everybody,
Diggle were in
so
the
he
van.
went in the cave when they were all out.
Yeah, Felicity and Diggle were in the van with
Felicity was in the
with
van.
Canary and Harper at that point, just
Good
before the
timing.
beginning of it.
Good timing. CMass 18 asks, do you think we will see more of Merlyn's backstory as the season goes on?
No, that's it.
I hope so. But I mean, I think
I don't know what else they would need
Yeah.
to show though, right?
that's what I was gonna say. Like,
But I also hope so.
Yeah, because we love Merlyn.
Yeah.
But it's like it made its point that he was a little vulnerable and a little weak sausage, no pun intended. So I don't know, but I don't think so. I think they're gonna make room for other backstories.
I
Totally.
mean, maybe beyond just like showing him getting trained and that's it. But I think it's gonna be more for maybe how he interacts with the other members of the Queen family, because there's obviously a lot of strained tension between her and Myra before that all happened.
Let's talk a little bit more about backstories though, because we were watching this episode and Tatsu and Oliver obviously have more to their relationship than we have seen so far, right?
Yes.
So
I didn't read into it.
Oh, I
nothing
do.
more than, I mean, the fact that they're so tight.
He's so friendly with every single person in his backstories.
I don't know about friendly. I mean,
He's much more friendly with those people than he is.
well,
with
he
other
owes
people
his
he-
life to them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like even before her becoming some kind of witch doctor, they always had some kind of chemistry, even though she kept saying she hated him and stuff. I always felt like there was some kind of tension there that was sexual or positive.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, there
I
might
went
be
right
something
over my
else.
head.
Only the females touched on that.
I know,
one.
like,
What's going on here?
It has to be like on the nose for me. Like, it's got to be with like obviously with Felicity and like the different people that she's keyed on. But yeah, it has to be right on the nose for me.
What do you think about that?
I think that there's still more of the, Hong Kong flashbacks and stuff we haven't seen.
Yeah.
Because obviously Masao and Tatsu had a child and he is now nowhere to be found. So we still don't know what happened to the son. I mean, I think they're alluding to the fact that he's probably dead.
Yeah.
They talked about having to sacrifice, the things that are most important to you in order to,
That was a big hint. Yeah.
to be your master or whatever. And so I think perhaps that's what happened, but I feel like there's still more, and I'm excited to see the backstory now.
Yeah, me too. Let's take a couple more.
The Arsenal 116 asks, where was Argus the whole time the city was under siege by Brick?
Well, where has Argus been, period? I mean, I've been kind of missing that. We had a backstory with Amanda Waller, and then she just disappeared. So I
Yeah,
don't know,
and they
to
could
me-
have helped find Brick in the first place,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and they did nothing.
yeah.
They're gone.
Maybe they're reserving them
They're
for a
gone.
big
They're on
battle
a
at the
mission
end.
or something.
They're busy doing other
Yeah,
business.
I mean, to be fair, Ra's al Ghul's already a pretty important plot line that I'm still curious to see how that's going to develop. So
for sure.
Well, they had to get on a whole new team, didn't they? They lost their entire team.
yeah,
Yeah, which I had heard we will be seeing, a new iteration of Suicide Squad in some future episode of this season. So
I just realized we have all these missing babies. We have Oliver's baby missing. We have Tatsu's baby missing, and we also have Diggle's baby missing. What is happening?
they don't want to fill the show with babies.
I
That's all.
know. Hook up the babies.
There's too much going on. Chris Hawkins 94 asked, do you think Quentin Lance will find out about the Black Canary?
Please.
The fact
got
that
to
it's
at this point.
Laurel and not Sarah.
Someone walked up to him and said it at the end of the episode.
Yeah.
this time.
It was kind of sad having Sid of all people be like, "Hey, that's not Sarah. That ain't Sarah." It was kind of weird. Like, oh my
Well, even
God.
she was a little bit. Even she didn't get it at first. Like she was like running up to him, and her and Harper getting on the back of the bike, and she thought it was Sarah at first. But then she had like that moment of realization, like at the big fight at the end of the episode, that that's not her.
Yeah.
But she seemed to say that like anybody could have seen it.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to skip some of these questions. I have a question,
Yay!
and I get to ask it for you guys. So, this episode obviously was focused on the fact that we're going to see the student eventually conquer the master or beat the master. I mean, what do you guys think that's alluding to? What are your predictions?
That's a great question.
Thank you.
When they mentioned that, it was interesting because right after that it pans to Thea and Merlyn. So I think at some point, Thea, this is a theory that Thea is going to realize what the fuck happened and how Merlyn kind of abused her, not physically but mentally, and she's going to have to go after her father.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
They showed a shot of Merlyn sharpening his sword too, right after he mentioned that. So I thought it was going to be Merlin's going to be the one that's going to have to go after Roz, and I guess it could also allude that like as far as like Oliver saying that he's got to be trained with Merlyn in order to be good enough to go up against Roz and the League of Shadows. If that's the case, like there's multiple students and multiple teachers at this point, so it could be any one of them or all three of them at once.
Yep.
Could be Oliver, Thea, and Merlyn all going after their respective teachers.
That'd be kind of crazy. What do you think?
No, exactly what you said. I mean, it could potentially be all of that happening at the same time, at the back end of the season. I think it's going to be really, really ugly.
I'm thinking
that's where it's going.
Merlyn and Oliver are going to be at each other's throats at some point again, and it's going to be Thea that's going to be trying to keep them apart. I
think they are already at each other's throats. They just have to learn to tolerate each other to have for this greater good of defeating Ra's al Ghul. So, all right, guys. Well, that being said, thank you for joining us for this Arrow After Show, and don't forget that every single day throughout the week you can continue to tweet us at #Arrow After Show. And in the meantime, where can everyone find you guys?
You guys can find me at Ann Campea, as well as Kaori and I at Team Amation.
And you can find me on Twitter at GAK, just the three letters G-A and a K.
Very, very easy. I'm going to forget that. And you can follow me at KAORIOUS, that's Kaorius, and also Ann and I at Team Amation. We do weekly shows, so follow us. And thank you guys for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time. So, see you later.